Group B, the pinnacle of rallying in the 1980s, iconic and infamous. With fast induction engines and no real boost limits, these cars pushed the power figures to around the 500 horsepower mark. And if that wasn't enough, Audi introduced at the time its revolutionary all-wheel drive system into the sport, with many manufacturers following suit. All of this combined with the low weight of usually under 1000 kilograms, a recipe for immense speed, even on loose surfaces, was created. With these never before reached speeds, accidents weren't uncommon, resulting in injuries and even death. But this won't affect us today, as we are within the realms of BeamNG drive, where the only thing an accident can damage is your own ego. And today I've asked myself the question, can I create my own version of a Group B rally car within automation that I can keep up with, maybe even beat some of the icons that are loved to this day? Before we start, I will set a benchmark in this, the Audi Quattro S1, a mod created by standing B1 RD at the Italy gravel hill climb. The Audi uses a 2.133 liter i5 engine with a massive turbocharger, providing over 2 bars of boost and managing around 450 horsepower. The sound that this car makes was iconic on its own. Sadly, this isn't quite representative in BeamNG. The engine capacity wasn't random, by the way. It allowed Audi to compete in the 3000cc category, which allowed them a minimum weight of just 960 kilograms. The Quattro S1 was the first rally car to make use of all-wheel drive to boost performance mainly on loose surfaces. The only disadvantage of that system was that it basically ruled the use of the handbrake useless, as it would lock all four wheels since the center differential couldn't unlock the front and rear axle. Though with the gained performance of four-wheel drive, this was basically counteracted. The observer amongst you might have noticed that I did not care for that fact, as the mod in BeamNG does allow the use of the handbrake and gain performance. And with the benchmark of 306.3 set, I went ahead and engineered my own version of a Group B monster. And out came this, the Omega 3T Group B car. It sports a 2.1 liter i4 turbocharged engine, putting it in the same weight class as the Audi. With the engine sitting in the middle of the car, this car handles wholly different than the Audi. And even with the use of all-wheel drive, I wasn't sure if I'm even going to get close to my time in set in the Audi, as this was my first attempt in re-engineering a beast like this. The already mentioned engine in this little beast produces 458 horsepower, but with a massive turbo that provides 2.5 bars of boost, that power is at the very end of the power curve. Even with the really short gearing, specifically chosen for this stage, it was hard keeping the engine in the boost. With a weight of exactly 960 kilograms and an almost 60% rearwards weight distribution, this thing was anything but stable. Every mistake damaging my own confidence of getting a decent run at this stage. No matter how hard I tried, this car just felt slow. While the Audi was stable and wherever you turned it went, this car just felt like a roll of a dice. You turned and either understeered or oversteered. So what you are witnessing right now is me wrestling with this thing. Just trying to get a stage with time without crashing out. You can imagine how many tries it took me. With my first try at making a Group B car being over 10 seconds off the pace than the Audi, things weren't looking good for my ego, both in the driving and engineering department. To make things worse, the S1 wasn't even the fastest version of the Quattro Audi brought to Group B. It was this, the Audi Quattro S1 E2. With the rise of competition in the all-wheel drive category, and more of them making successful use of mid-engine layout, Audi did their best within the regulations to increase the performance of the Quattro. Introduced in 1985, the E2 version boasts invisible improvements in the aerodynamics, making use of front and rear wings, making use of the downforce around the corners. The aero wasn't the only thing improved though, with improvements to the engine allowing it to boost around 530 horsepower, a massive number even in today's standards. And with a time of 3 minutes, 1 second and 4 tenths, things weren't looking good for me in my quest to produce a competitive Group B car. But I wasn't finished. After a lot of work and automation, I produced this. The Omega S3. I got rid of the previous engine completely to make way for a new strategy. A 1783cc 3-cylinder twin-charged engine. This allows me to compete in the 2500cc category, the same weight class of the Lancia Delta S4. Almost the entire car got a rework. I improved the aerodynamics by adding more wings to the front and back, hoping to give a minor improvement in the few higher speed corners even on the loose surface. One of the major issues before was grip. With higher quality rail tires, cornering and on-throttle performance in the exit should be massively improved. With the rework of the suspension setup by stiffening the dampers and adjusting the sway bars, the responsiveness of the car on the bumpy and uneven surface should be better. The lower weight class allows us to run the car with just 890 kilograms, and a small engine helps to bring the weight balance even closer to the middle, allowing for a more stable feel. Onto the new engine specs. The massive turbocharger on the i3 provides 2.8 bars of boost, helping reach a whopping 500 horsepower. With the addition of a supercharger, the throttle response during turbo spool-up is definitely better than on the 4-cylinder, and acceleration is much more predictable. Though it is obviously still not perfect and I should try to keep the car within the turbo's boost range. And the time set was 3:04.9. Although it was slower than the Quattro E2, it's a significant improvement to my first iteration at a Group B car, and I am totally satisfied. And while I can try to re-engineer a perfect Group B car, what I cannot reproduce are the massive balls of the drivers back then.